Welcome back to all my tiny tots. Little ones, big kids, tweens, teens, everyone in between, CGs, flips, and adults. This is Fanfic Friday 4, I think? I apologize, it's kind of late in the afternoon. I should have recorded these last night, but, it's alright. So, anyways, today we'll be reading 45, 46, 47, and 48, and I hope you'll enjoy. Chapter 45, CG Awesome Dude with Little Captain Puffy. Small hands reached out, a wide yawn splitting the little's face as she sat up, rubbing the sleep from her eyes. She was only still slightly tired. She could smell breakfast being made and got up, pulling on some overalls and a t-shirt, ready to take on the day. She felt old enough to be on her own if her CG was busy, around 7 or so. Puffy toddled down the stairs, running into the kitchen and hopping onto one of the stools around the kitchen island. Hey kiddo, sleep well? Sam asked as he flipped some bacon in a pan by the stove. Puffy nodded and smiled. Yeah, I was a pirate and me and you were searching for lost treasure. We found a chest of gold and... Puffy trailed off, looking up at her CG as her stomach growled lightly. He returned her gaze with a gentle smile and a nod, as if asking her to keep going. Puffy's face lit up as she tried to remember where she had just left off. We ended up finding a bunch of people on the island where we found the gold, but they were all kind of, foolish, like gods and goddesses and stuff. We ended up fighting them because they were bad guys and they weren't going to let us leave, Puffy finishes, looking pleased with her story. Sam lets out a soft breath. Wow, kiddo, sounds like we had quite an adventure. Puffy nods, peering over at Sam. Is breakfast ready yet? I'm hungry. Yeah, it is, but first, age check, Sam says as he dishes some food out onto a plate for Puffy. That's easy, Dad. I'm 7, Puffy answers, bouncing in her seat a bit. Alright, orange juice or milk? Sam asks, pulling one of the cartoon character-themed cups out of the cupboard. Juice, please, Puffy responded, smiling as Sam slid a plate over to her and she dug in, looking it briefly once he set the glass down before her. Thank you, Puffy said after she had finished her mouthful of food. You're welcome, kiddo. What do you want to do after breakfast? Sam answered, sitting down beside the kiddo and eating his breakfast as well. Can we go hang out with Big Q and Carl? Puffy requested. Sure, kid. We can go visit them, Sam answered with a gentle smile. Alright, chapter 46, CG Foolish Gamers and Little Rambo. I wrote this a really long time ago, so I'm sorry if anything was written horribly. I personally headcanon that Rambo uses Z, Z, or Zem, and void self-pronouns, along with they, them, theirs. Please respect that this is my personal opinion. Also, if I write any of the pronouns wrong, I apologize. I'm not really used to writing neo-pronouns, and I think this would be great practice, so please correct me in any space that looks wrong. Enjoy, everyone. Boyd woke up on a Saturday morning, deep in baby space. Z yawned softly, voice jaw stretching as Z yawned, and crawled out of bed, taking a small tumble off the bed, landing on Z's butt on the floor. Rambo took in the shock within a few moments, tears disappearing before they had a chance to fall. Void made Zero way downstairs, sliding on Void's butt. Z eventually made it to the bottom of the stairs, eyes squinting in the bright sunshine light that filtered through the drawn curtains. Foolish sat by the table, drinking nectar out of a golden goblet at the large table that took up most of the dining space. Upon seeing Rambo, he stood, rising to his full height, in non-god form. This is a personal headcanon of 7 feet. He reached down and picked the little up, smiling as Void let out another quiet yawn, the sleep not quite done, leaving Zer's system. Rambo rested Void's head on Foolish's shoulder, yawning quietly once more as Foolish moved towards the kitchen to get breakfast. started. He pulled out some eggs for himself and puffs for the little, then some deli meat, shredded cheese, tomatoes, green onion, and mushrooms. He placed Rambo down on the floor for a moment, finally chopping up the vegetables and cracking 2 eggs into a bowl. He scrambled the yolks and poured them into a pan he had set on the stove, turning the heat to low. He added in the vegetables and waited as the egg cooked. Once it was done enough on one side, he turned it over to the other, adding shredded cheese to the current side. He poured some puffs into a bowl for Rambo and grabbed out a cup of applesauce and a small spoon for Zem. Wow. Once his omelet was done cooking, he placed it on a plate and picked Rambo up, setting Void down in a high chair and opening up the applesauce to feed the little. Rambo took it in small bites, their taste buds processing it in between moments. I should say mouthfuls. Soon enough, Foolish had fed Void all of the applesauce and set the bowl of puffs down before the underchild, eating his own omelet before it got cold. After around an additional 10 minutes, breakfast was finished. Foolish picked up Rambo and carried Void into the living room, setting him down on his playmat as he returned to the kitchen to do breakfast dishes. Foolish checked in on the little from time to time, a quiet cartoon playing in the background of on the TV. Void laid on his stomach, chewing on one of their teethers as he watched the bright colors on the TV, the soft sounds playing around in Void's brain. Void giggled quietly. The character on screen was making funny noises and faces. Foolish smiled from his place in the kitchen, hearing the little laugh. It was a good day, he determined. Chapter 47, CG, Tommy, and It, Little Tubbo. Once again, personal headcanon. Tubbo uses Zem's ear, and he him his. Once again, correct me in any spaces that look wrong, and I hope you'll enjoy. Sitting in the flower field, Z felt sort of lonely, not that he was entirely alone. Z had the bees to keep Zem company. It wasn't too bad. He picked daisies and daffodils, braiding them into flower crowns, one that would fit over his ear horns, and the other that would be for his CG whenever they showed up. Tommy wasn't a very busy person per se. He was just all over the place at all times. He showed up eventually, arriving in the flower field, his picnic basket on his arms and his clothes slightly tousled, as if he had slept in them, but nonetheless he had shown up at a decent time. Tubbo let out a pleased meh before standing up on wobbly legs and running to Tommy. Wrapping their arms around the other, Tommy smiled, carefully hoisting the goat hybrid into his arms. "Hey, Tubbs, how are you doing today?" Tommy asked politely, gently rubbing between Tubbo's horns. A movement that he had found would relax the little. Tubbo shrugged a bit, melting into the older's touch with a gentle smile playing on his lips. Tommy smiled as well, his grip tightening just a bit. He carefully set the picnic basket down on the grass and took a slow, steady seat on the ground next to it, careful not to let the little fall or to fall himself. Tubbo's face buried deeper into his CG's neck, eyes slowly closing, their body suddenly heavy with exhaustion. Tommy cooed lightly, rubbing his fingertips gently up and down Tubbo's spine. "Hey, Bubs," Tommy said gently. Tubbo snorted a bit, indicating Z was listening. "Can I lay the picnic blanket down and then you'll be a bit more comfortable?" Tommy requested. Tubbo snorted a bit again, not really caring, but slowly nodding and climbing out of his CG's lap. Z landed on the grass with a soft thud, nuzzling into it as their CG set up the picnic blanket on the grass. Once the blanket had been laid out, Tubbo had gone back to the flower crown making and slept his...
Eat. It's on the pink pillow.
Okay. Sorry, my sister just came in. I'm gonna try and find my spot back. It slipped his on, handing their CG the other one. Tommy slipped it onto his head. It fit just right. "Thanks, Tubbs," he murmured as the little rested Zir head in his CG's lap. Tommy didn't mind, though. He gently ran his finger through the brunettes. Locks, a small smile playing on his lips. Chapter 48, CG Wilbursit, Little Technoblade. I'm sorry if I'm making you uncomfortable by continuing to write Technoblade, as he did pass away a couple months ago, but this is just my way of keeping his memory going and honoring him. If you are uncomfortable with that, or if it makes you too sad to hear any of this, feel free to just leave now. I'll give you a couple seconds. She threw a cookie at me? Yeah, that's For this story, Wilbur uses he, him, his, and she, her, hers pronouns, while Technoblade uses they, them, theirs. I will mention that I do kind of like experimenting with pronouns just to give different characters a different touch, but also because I feel like certain pronouns fit characters better, and that's why I kind of started experimenting later on in the story. And you'll notice at the beginning I just use the pronouns that they're comfortable with, but personally I had canon some of them differently, and I'm really sorry if that offends you or you think that offends the character, as I'm not talking about the actual person in this case, but that person's character that they play as in the DASMP. And most of these stories are based in the SMP regardless of what I say otherwise, but if they are IRL, then it is just the characters, it's not the actual person. If it was the actual person, I'd be using their actual names, and sometimes it's just easier to use their actual names too, so I'm sorry if that confuses any of you. Anyways, enough of that. I hope you all enjoy. Content warning for mentions of battle, fire usage towards another human, wound cleanup, and a crying little. Techno drudged through the snow. Their once warm, thick cape was scattered with holes, doing nothing to keep the cold out of their already naturally chilled skin. He grew up in the nether, so his skin takes a colder tone to it in the overworld because he's not surrounded by the heat that he would have had in the nether. The burns on their lower left leg and upper right thigh throbbed painfully with each step. They had lost their shoes sometime along the way, but that didn't matter to them now. What mattered was finding shelter and getting warm. They shivered again, a particularly rough wind brushing by them as they drew what was left of their cape tighter around their shoulders. Finally, after what seemed like another 6 miles and 4 hours, but was actually only 1.5 miles in 1 hour, Techno reached a house. They cried out in joy, their frozen blue-tinged fingers suddenly gaining feeling as their frostbitten feet carried them to the front porch of the house, knocking on the door as they collapsed. Adrenaline used up, the cold seeped too deep into their bones. Wilbur got up after the first knock, his socked feet hitting the carpeted floor with no sound whatsoever, as she moved with practiced grace to answer the door. He had no clue who would have wandered out into the Arctic this far, but the last person she expected was his very own sibling. "Oh, sweetheart," he murmured as she picked up the half-frozen child, carrying them into the house. Techno sobbed softly at the sight of their sibling, holding them again, like she had so long ago. They tried to speak, words getting stuck in their throat. "Shh, it's all right. Little one, no need to say anything. Just focus on warming up, okay?" Wilbur answered as he sat before the fire, the little resting in her lap. Techno wasn't sure where they were at first, but after a moment they scampered as far away as they could get from the fire. It had hurt them, and they no longer trusted it in their vulnerable headspace. Wilbur watched the little, a confused look crossing his face until she noticed the burns that rested on their legs, arms, and part of their neck. A look of astonishment crossed her face for a moment before he turned towards the little, a gentle, comforting smile crossing their features. "It's all right, kiddo. The fire won't hurt you anymore. Sibby's here, and she won't let you get hurt. He promises," Wilbur said gently. Techno paused, thinking for a moment before nodding and making their way back over to Wilbur, curling up in her lap, their head buried in his shoulder. Wilbur cooed gently, a gentle hand running through the slightly tangled pink locks. Techno slowly regained feeling in their toes and fingers, warmth soaking into their body through their ruined clothes and cut up bare feet. Their burns became a more painful throb as their body was too tired to deal with the possible threat. Techno minded it, suddenly very uncomfortable in their soaked big kid clothes and their injuries throbbing painfully. Wilbur took notice, skipping the little up in his arms and carrying them upstairs. She began running a bath, a bit of bubble soap added into the lukewarm water as to not upset Techno's burns any further. He knew she'd have to treat them better later on, but for right now, his only concern was to take care of her little. He helped Techno undress, looking away when she needed as he lifted the little, setting them down into the tub, wincing when the little whimpered in pain as their burns slowly got covered by water. After a few minutes, Techno seemed all right. They played happily in the water, moving rubber ducks around and babbling to themselves. Wilbur smiled to himself, gently working shampoo and conditioner into the little's long pink locks. After she was done, he left Techno on their own to wash their body and finish up their bath, as Wilbur went to find the little one some clothes. He found an oversized hoodie of a soft material and a pair of sleep pants, soft to the touch and very fuzzy on the inside. Wilbur returned to the bathroom, helping the little out of the bath and into the dry clothes. Once that was done, she picked Techno up, carrying them back downstairs, cradled in his arms. He made Techno up a bottle of warm angel's milk and slipped them some pain medicine so that they wouldn't feel the cleaning of their wounds or their pain as badly. After Techno had finished their bottle, they were quite drowsy, dozing off into a semi-conscious state. Wilbur got to work, carefully adding burn gel to the injuries that needed it and bandaging the ones that didn't. After applying an antibiotic ointment on the cuts on the little's feet, she bandaged up their burns in a not too tight but not too loose wrap and put the first aid kit back away. He returned to the living room, picking the little up and carrying them up the stairs. She tucked them into the king-size bed in the master bedroom and whispered a soft goodnight before kissing their forehead. Techno's eyes popped open as they grasped onto Wilbur's sweatshirt, not wanting the older to leave them alone. Wilbur got the message and laid down next to Little, gently caressing their back and hair. Little fell into a deep, peaceful sleep, no night terrors to haunt their dreams as their Seiji laid with them. I hope you all enjoyed, and maybe you guys can help me out with this. If you made it to the end and you have any ideas of what you'd like to see in stories or in texting stories, if y'all could leave me some scenarios in the comments, that'd be absolutely helpful. Just to let you know, I won't be posting next week, as next week is Thanksgiving, and I just kind of want to take a break from the channel, internet, and just kind of hang out with my family and stuff. I hope you all understand, and I hope you all have an amazing day, night, evening, afternoon, dawn, dusk, witching hour, whatever it may be for you. And I will see you all in the next one. To all my tiny tots, little ones, big kids, tweens, teens, everyone in between, CGs, flips, and adults. Bye!